Hey folks, Bernakevitch here with All Points Design. That's allpointsdesign.ca. Today we're talking about the Oregon State University permaculture template, specifically the watershed maps and the micro watershed. So today's example, we're going to be taking a look at an urban example. And as you can see in the template, we have a really good urban example because in so many situations in our urban environments, we've disrupted the natural hydrology so much that the existing topography that the city is laid on top of um, doesn't necessarily affect us. And we would have to know the inner workings of the city, its utilities, its sewer, its storm sewer, its water. It's an incredible amount of information to process, and that's not our expectation. Here on the right-hand side, you can see what we're looking at when we are seeing a rural site. So while this is the macro site, this site specifically is in a small tributary or a small water basin, a cup, if you will, and that's where that rural site lives. So you'll have to take a look at your map examples and your local map resources for rural conversations. For the urban, I'm going to show you a process that I've used to better understand my urban situation and what potential water might be accessible to me. I use Google Earth Pro because it's free and we have the ability to work with it anywhere on the planet. And it gives us generally pretty good data. Again, there are some constraints with the data set that Google Earth Pro uses, but for all intents and purposes, it works really well for this level of design. So what I've done is I've taken all the potential water that flows onto the site or that I have access to, onto or access. And you'll see right away that I have first off labeled the two storm drains. These are the ones that are in the squares, the purple squares. These are the storm drains that are on the side of the road. And most roads are crowned. So when you take a look at a road, I'm just going to pull up my drawing tool here. When you take a look at a road, you're going to see that that road has a bit of a crown, usually has a gutter, and then usually some kind of sidewalk, not always the case. But because it's crowned, that means that dead center is the top, if you will, of the roof. So this is kind of like a roof where we have this gabled roof. This is the top, which means that everything that's on this side of the crown plus the gutter and usually the sidewalk. So all of this from, I'm just going to change colors here, from this to this is actually a roof. So when we go back to our example, you'll see that I've taken one roof space, if you will, half of the road, half where the crown is, including the sidewalk. And I've gone from where that water would normally drain to because the water flows this way. And then I've gone to the next one, which if we zoom in, we see that it indeed is potentially on property. Now, if you haven't looked at Brad Lancaster's work, his low impact development or his side cuts or curb cuts that brings water from a roadway onto a site, I highly recommend you check out his videos. They're exceptionally inspiring and show you what you can do in an urban setting when you don't have a huge roof to capture from. So this potentially can be a water source. Of course, there's contaminants and toxicity that can potentially come from this. So there are processes that you'll have to go through to make sure that that water is at a level that can be used, or it's used in a way that doesn't have contamination issues for people or animals. And then we have a second area, and I left this so we could do it together here. We have a second area that also goes down to another storm drain. So if I click on one of these, click on get info, then when I go to add place mark, I'll get the exact same type and I can put it right where I want it. There we go. So that's our third place marker. That's our third storm drain. So that gives us two roof structures, if you will, that come to and close to the property. And then I went ahead and I took a look at the roof and these two roofs to understand where exactly does the water flow to. Now, the diamonds are my downspouts. So there's a potential to access this downspout, but it actually overflows onto the neighbor's property. So you could reroute it if we wanted to take that water and put it into play on the background. This roof comes off to this downspout. And then of course, there's the impermeable areas that are the sidewalks. So we have a sidewalk up front as well. And then we have the permeable, which is the front yard mode. We have the side yard mode, and then we have the backyard mode. Now, there is a deck that's on top here. So if you do have a deck or something like that, if it's permeable, I just include it as the same. So what I'm going to do for my micro watershed is I'm going to take an image of this, doing what we've done before by printing an example of this. So I'm just going to make sure that it's close to the right-hand side because I'll want to take in that, that scale bar there. So that's not quite there yet. So we're just going to move it over a bit. Needs a bit more still. Great, and it could probably go in a bit more. And you'll see that that untitled place mark is actually holding on to its name. So I'm just going to go in there and delete it. So that way I don't have to go in. And what I might do, actually, this might be useful, is just make sure it's labeled storm drain. And I'm going to copy that because I'm going to do the same for all of them. There we go. Yeah, that's a great addition there. It's another storm drain, and that's another storm drain. Awesome. And we'll do the same for the downspouts. Downspout.